Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Today, our presenter, the Head of Professional Services, Giles Garnett, will be showing you how to take your LinkedIn automation results to the next level. Me, Jen, the Head of Customer Support, will be answering your questions via live chat. And at the end of the webinar, as usual, we will have a Q&A with Giles. So let's begin.
Hello and good morning, good afternoon or good evening to you wherever you may be in the world, and thank you for joining us for the latest in our series of Dux-Soup webinars. My name is Giles. I'm the Head of Professional Services here at Dux-Soup, and you just heard from Jin, our Head of Customer Support. I've been presenting these webinars for around 3 years now and have built up a wealth of knowledge and experience in helping and guiding people in using both Dux-Soup and LinkedIn, so I'll share that information and knowledge with you today. Today we're going to review the different Dux-Soup plans that are available. So LinkedIn automation with Dux-Soup, which is the right plan for you. I'm going to provide you with information to hopefully help you make an informed decision as to which is the correct version for you to be using. I'll go over the basic functions of each version, explain what the differences are, as well as mentioning some use cases as well, so you can be fully informed to help you make the right decision. While I'm presenting and talking, as always, please raise any questions you have via the questions box, and Jin will do her best to answer those that are applicable. Any that are appropriate, I'll try and answer at the end of the question at the end of the webinar as well. So please keep your questions on topic to help everybody out. As always, the webinar is being recorded and will be made available to you in the coming hours if you registered, and via our website and YouTube channel in the next day or so to all of our users. So, anybody who's new to Dux-Soup, I hope we've got some new users and new prospective users here on the call today. For anyone who's not familiar with what Dux-Soup is and they're sort of starting from the beginning, what is Dux-Soup? So Dux-Soup is a Chrome extension which helps you to automate your lead generation activities in LinkedIn, and it works by mimicking human behavior on the platform. It gives you the possibility to harness the power of LinkedIn by automating such actions as auto visiting profiles, sending connection requests, sending in-mails, and endorsing skills. Different functions for each of the 3 different versions, which will come on into more detail now. But the important thing here is to remember that to keep your LinkedIn account safe, Dux-Soup mimics the clicks of the mouse on the screen. It's very important. So hopefully now you've got a little bit of a flavor as to what Dux-Soup is, or you already knew anyway. So let's talk about the different versions that we have. So we have 3 versions of Dux-Soup. There's a starter version, which is free. We have Dux-Soup Pro, which is priced at around $15 per month. And we've got Dux-Soup Turbo, which is priced at $55 per month. If you buy 12 months up front, then there are reductions applied to those monthly costs as well. So those are the 3 basic versions.
Hi guys, sorry, it seems that Giles's computer has crashed, so he's gonna restart shortly. Just 2 seconds, please. Don't worry. We have the webinar is gonna restart. Apologies for this. I'm still waiting for Giles to log in. We'll be back with you in a minute. Apologies.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Welcome back.
Apologies for that. That was there's a first time for everything, isn't there? Apologies for that. My my laptop decided to completely crash on me. So there we go. Where were we? We'll continue. Apologies for that, everyone. And thank you for those with the patience of staying with us. As I was saying, we'll return to where we were. So we've got three versions: Starter, Pro, and Turbo. The Pro version, $15 a month, is suitable for full real-time LinkedIn outreach, and the Turbo version is the $55 per month, full functionality, integration possibilities, and campaign management and outreach. So hopefully there's a version there suitable for every budget and for all of your LinkedIn outreach requirements. So we'll start at the bottom and work our way up from a functionality point of view. As I go through each of these next few slides, I'll also show you how the platform looks, as long as all of my Chrome tabs have reopened. I'll show you how each of the platforms look, and you can be familiar with what's possible with each of the versions. So let's move on. So Dux-Soup Starter, the free version. It works only on regular LinkedIn and Sales Navigator, and basically all you can do with it is auto visit prospects. You find your list of prospects in LinkedIn or Sales Navigator, and you just ask the robot to visit them. If you bear with me 1 second here, I can show you how that looks. So hopefully you can see my screen. And this here is a starter version. So I've got the Dux-Soup icon here in the top right-hand corner is black. I've got the starter edition. What I need to do now in order to run Dux-Soup from here is I would then find my list of prospects. I'd go down here and I'd say, yeah, okay, let's find a list of prospects here in regular LinkedIn or in Sales Navigator indeed. I go to my list of people here, and we'll see in a second that the Dux-Soup icon in the top right-hand corner will turn green very shortly, unless something strange has happened, thanks to my computer crashing. There we go. And so now I can say to Dux-Soup, right, please go and visit those profiles. If I try and visit and connect or scan, I'm going to get a pop-up to say that's a premium feature, and same with scanning. So any of these other things here are premium features. If I want to revisit, I think I can search by tag. I can still search by tag because I have limited tags available within the starter version as well. But if I want to, I could just say to Dux-Soup, right, please go and visit some profiles. And Dux-Soup will then just, with the default settings, go and visit the profiles in the list. And that's the starter version. Every time you visit a profile, of course, Dux-Soup's gathering data, but you can't download that data if you've only got the starter version. So that's Dux-Soup Starter Edition. move all out of the way, and let's move on to Dux-Soup Pro. So Dux-Soup Pro is the version, is the middle tier, shall we say. Works on regular LinkedIn, Sales Navigator, and Recruiter. Allows you to auto visit, invite, and message prospects, and you've got unlimited manual and auto tagging. You can download your data, and you define how much Dux-Soup does and when. And everything is done in real time in the browser. So if I now grab my this one here, which is my Pro account. So here we can go. So up here, you see in the right-hand corner, my Dux-Soup icon is now red. Red is the Pro edition with the little duck icon there. And what I have now is if I click on the Dux-Soup icon, you'll see here, if I go to my options, you'll notice here I've got all of these options here available to me here, all of the regular options. So I can ask Dux-Soup to send a connection request to people during an auto visit. I can ask Dux-Soup to send a personalized message to an existing connection during an auto visit. I can even send in-mails if I'm using Sales Navigator or Recruiter. Now remember, you can only send connection requests in regular LinkedIn and Sales Navigator. You can't do that in Recruiter. So there are some limitations, and they're all based upon the functionality of the LinkedIn platform that you're in. So for example, you can only disconnect from a profile using standard LinkedIn. That's not an option in Sales Navigator or Recruiter. You can only endorse skills of first-degree connections, existing first-degree connections using regular LinkedIn. You can't do that on any of the other LinkedIn platforms. So here you've got all of those possibilities to do all of that. You've got the exclusion options there. You can download your data. So I visited a few profiles earlier, and if I just go back to here and I just bring up a list, so let's just find a list of people here somewhere. There we go. So here, obviously, I've got a list of people here. I could now run Dux-Soup against this list, but then I can also here now my 10 profiles that I visited earlier. I could now download the data of that and have that available in spreadsheet format here. We'll open in a second. There we go. So there's a few people there that I visited earlier, and I can see the information around those people that I visited. So you run Dux-Soup Pro in real time on the browser, and you control how much it does by choosing your throttling settings here. So you can choose whether it's running slowly or at medium pace. You choose exactly how many connection requests and how many visits the robot carries out per day, and how many direct messages it sends as well. You have complete control there. And you also have the ability to control the hours that it works as well. So you may be saying, yeah, I'm going to send out 200 direct messages a day, but you're only going to want to do that at certain times of the day because you want here to make sure that you have control over when the robot's running. So maybe you only want it running at certain times of the day, and you can just choose those hours here on the planner, like so, and say, yeah, I only want it to run between 10 and 5, for example. Maybe you want a couple of hours at lunchtime when you're manually active on LinkedIn as well. So you can then say to Dux-Soup, if I've set you off, yeah, only run between 10 and 12 and 2 and 5. And Dux-Soup, as long as the Chrome browser remains open, Dux-Soup will continue to run in the back on the tab that you've started it off on. So here, if I went to a search result here, let's just do that one very quickly. There we go, come up with a list of people here. Normally, of course, we put in a much more elaborate filter. So now if I wanted to carry out some activities here, be a visit or visit and connect, or even scanning profiles, then you can do that here. And the activity would then happen in this tab. You'd see in the bottom right-hand corner, the windows for each of the profiles being opened and your chosen activity being carried out there. If you minimize the window, the browser window, so if you minimize it to the bottom of the page like that, then Dux-Soup pauses. And now I've lost it. Where'd it go? That one. There we go. So yeah, you need to make sure that it is open on your screen in order for Dux-Soup to mimic the clicks of the mouse in the browser. So that's Dux-Soup Pro. So yeah, with Pro you can run on pretty much any of the LinkedIn platforms and perform the automations that are available to you manually in each of those platforms, inviting, visiting, messaging, etc. So yeah, you select the speed of the robot, you control all of that, and as I say, here under the options, you've got all of these possibilities here, whether it's endorsing or tagging or sending emails, etc., etc. So that's Pro. Let's minimize that one. Let's move on now, and we now look at Turbo. Now, Turbo is the version with all of the functionality available. And it's important to remember that when you first install Dux-Soup, you get a 14-day free trial of Turbo. It's absolutely no obligation. You don't have to enter any details or anything. You just get that possibility to use the full bells and whistles version for 14 days when you first install it. It works on all of the LinkedIn platforms. That's regular LinkedIn, on Sales Navigator and Recruiter. And you have all of the Dux-Soup Pro functionality, plus all of the campaign ability, the abilities around the campaigns, the building and the managing and the monitoring of campaigns, the enrollment activity into those campaigns. And then you have, because you have access to the API as well, then you have the whole raft of possibilities opened up regarding integrations. And to show you what that looks like, I will open my other, let me find the correct tab. I seem to have lost that one, so let's bear with me 1 second. I will just find the correct one. What happens when things crash when we're doing them live, isn't it? There we go. Right, so here, this is Dux-Soup Turbo. I know it's Turbo because we have here a turquoise Dux-Soup icon now. For anyone who's new to these webinars, of course, anybody who's not attended before, this is me here on LinkedIn. I'll just show you my page. If you want to send me a connection request, please put a message in there that you found me through Dux-Soup or because you were attending a webinar. I'm very happy to connect with users of Dux-Soup, and yeah, ping me a message on LinkedIn so I know how you found me. But this is Dux-Soup Turbo. So I've got Dux-Soup Turbo installed here. And you'll notice here that the difference now is, as well as a visit and a visit and connect option, I've got an enrollment option here. So if I go to a list of people, just a list here, what I can see here now is I've got this ability to enroll profiles into a campaign. That's not available in Pro or Starter, of course. If I want to enroll profiles into a campaign, I can press that button there. I can select any of my campaigns there and just say to Dux-Soup, right, go and enroll however many profiles into that campaign as I want. Of course, you'd probably have a longer list than that one, but just for illustrative purposes. If I just go to, let's go to Sales Navigator for a change, because we've not opened Sales Navigator yet today. Here within Sales Navigator, it works in the same way. If I just have a quick look at a saved search a second, let's go to some new results from a saved search. There we go. So I've got some profiles here. So I've got a couple of options now as to how I enroll my profiles from a search list. I can use the enroll profiles button here that I showed you just now, but I also have here the Dux-Soup widget here at the side where I can choose from my drop-down menu which campaign, and I press the enrollment button. With Dux-Soup Turbo, you also have the ability then, of course, to build and manage your campaigns. And if you go to Dux Dash down here in the bottom right-hand corner, this is where we get this additional menu, which is available to Turbo users here. And this is where you can define your drip campaigns. This is where you go into the drip campaigns here. You select the campaign and then you populate the campaign with your chosen messages. This is where you go to access the funnel flow. The funnel flow is the snapshot view of the status of all of your campaigns. If we just wait for this to load a second, we'll be able to see how that looks any second now. There we go. So here I can select whichever campaign it is that I want from my drop-down box. I can select my date range, and then I can see the status of all of the different phases of my campaign, whether that's the number of people I've enrolled or have invited, the number of accepted, and the number of responses that I've received. I can monitor my responses here, and then I could additionally, as well as monitoring the responses here, I can see the responses. If I open these little drop-down boxes here under each of these profiles, I'll see the actual message exchanges there. And I can use the LinkedIn icon here just to go straight to the prospect's profile and continue that message. So I have here this snapshot view, which I can just use as my action list, depending on what I want to do. With Turbo, you also have a more advanced tag tool. So in Pro, it's a little bit more basic, but here in Turbo, you've got the tag tool here, which is a relatively new feature, actually, the advanced tag ability here, which is going to now not load up, isn't it? Let's hope that loads in a second. Basically, what you can do in there now is you can edit your tags. Let's wait for that to respond. Hopefully that'll load in a second. I suspect this is all related to my laptop crashing just now, but yeah, we'll see. Let's try reloading that. There we go. There's the tag tool starting to load up. So here, for example, I can see people that if I've been tagging profiles, I can see who I've tagged and with what. I can also then choose to manage my tags over here as well, and actually edit my tags and change them accordingly. The queued activity is a list of my actions that I've queued up based upon my campaigns. So if I've sent an invitation to somebody and then they've accepted, and then that would queued up a number of messages, then the queued activity would show me what's queued up and ready to go. And then here under the activity log, I'd see what's happened in the past. So if I go onto the activity log here, I can then break it down by campaign, action, etc., and I can see all of the results, everything that's happened here against whichever campaign I want, and break it down. So you have that full visibility of what's happened in the past and what's going to be happening in the future there. And finally, with Dux-Soup Turbo, you have the ability to integrate with other systems. We have already built 2 direct integrations, one with HubSpot and one with Pipedrive. We've got another CRM in the pipeline, which is going to be released later this month. But then, as well as these 2 direct integrations which we've developed, you then have the possibility to integrate with using webhooks. And if I just go back to my Dux-Soup options here in Turbo, then what you see here is you also have this button here, the Connect tab here, and this is where you can define your webhooks and have data sent both ways. You have instructions coming in from using the remote control, using the API to trigger actions, and you can also have data sent to whichever platform it is that you're using, whether that's another CRM or applicant tracking system or whatever it may be. So that way you can have a real-time data coming out of LinkedIn through Dux-Soup to where you want it to be, depending on what your requirements are. So let's get this one out of the way a second. So those are our three. We've got Starter, we've got Pro, and we've got Turbo. So which one is for you? The Starter version is sort of very low impact lead generation activity of just auto visiting profiles. Remember, every time you visit a profile, that person, if you've got your settings set correctly in LinkedIn, that person will get a notification that you visited them. A lot of people use that as a very valid process for lead generation. It's one of those things that it's often a starting point for people just to sort of see what happens. If you go out and visit 100 profiles, you will get so many people visiting you back just because they're inquisitive. So that's all you can do with Starter, just that auto visiting. With Pro, yeah, we define this as kind of like your semi-automated LinkedIn functions. Your visits, your messaging, your connecting, your endorsing, your in-mailing. It's running in real time in your browser. You define the list, you define and control the actions, you define when it runs. It'll only run, of course, Dux-Soup will only ever run when your computer is on and when the browser is open. And then we've got Turbo. This is the fully automated lead generation package. It contains all of the pro features plus the campaign enrollment and management and the API access, giving you countless integration possibilities. This is the ideal platform for maximizing your automated LinkedIn outreach and engagement, because it takes care of all of those campaigns, all of those follow-up messages. It's then up to you to follow up accordingly as and when people respond. So those are the 3 flavors. Have a think about which is the best and most suitable for you. If you've got scale, if you're looking at scale as well, if you've got multiple users, then you've got agency and team plans that are available. And if you have more than 10 seats, then you benefit from discounted pricing. Team licenses are billed annually, and agency plans are billed monthly, depending on what you've used. And if you get above a certain threshold of seats, then there's also our high flyer program, which is available with various benefits there, such as additional consultation calls, etc. So there's additional information all available on our website. If you look at the pricing screen, you'll see the agency and team pricing there. So as a summary, what are your lead generation requirements? What's your budget? Very often that it can be small businesses that are using this. It can also be scaled up to much larger organizations. What's your budget? What are your priorities? And how much time would these automated activities take you if you did them manually? That's the thing to think about. What is the value in what you're doing here, what you're getting the robot to do for you on your behalf? You need to think about other things as well. Do you run it on regular LinkedIn? Do you run it on Sales Navigator? Do you run it on Recruiter? It all depends on what your business model is and what the processes are that you've got there. Starter, basic functionality, the Pro, the semi-automated real-time outreach, and then the Turbo, the fully automated campaigns, the integrations, the monitoring of those campaigns, and the ability to just queue stuff up and let it go. You can enroll, for example, 200 people per week and just let it run, and 200 people get invited, and as and when they accept, they'll get their follow-ups accordingly. To look at all of the functionality in more detail, we have done previous webinars on Turbo quite recently. So that's the place to go to have a look. If I just go to our, let me just pull that up a second. If I go to our homepage, hopefully you're familiar with this, but if you look here under our resources and our webinars, if you go here, you will see we've got various webinars. All our previous webinars are available here. So we've got here one of our pipe drivers last week, but we've got full functionality descriptions of all of our versions here. We very recently looked at the Turbo functionality, and back in the past we've also done the Pro version as well. So that's the place to go to look at the previous webinars and get more information. We also, of course, produce associated blogs with all our webinars, so you can always catch up that way as well. Next week, before we get to the questions, I'm coming there in a second. Next week, we're going to be looking at converting LinkedIn connections into customers in 4 easy steps. We're going to be looking at how you can get your first degree connections. A lot of people have a big first degree network already. How you get those first degree connections to convert from just being a connection into a customer. So we're going to be looking at how you can utilize Dux-Soup to do that. That's in 2 weeks' time on the 20th of September. Jin, do we have any questions other than around my crashing computer?
No. Thank you for coming back to the webinar. No, we do not have any questions. Sorry?
I do hope you managed to fill suitably and kept everybody entertained.
The comfortable silence.
Do we have any questions?
Yes, so at the moment, we do not have any questions.
Okay, so just a very quick reminder, in 2 weeks' time, let's go back. Back that way, there we go. So in 2 weeks' time, yes, looking at getting your first degree connections to become customers. So yeah, that'll be that one. I can see there's a few bits of typing going on. Should we give it a second or so, see if any further questions come in, Jen?
Yeah, sure.
I have to say that was a new experience with the computer bombing out on me like that, which is unusual, but I had recently restarted it and taken all the updates, but there we go. Possibly to do with the hot weather here at the moment. We've got thunderstorms in the area, maybe.
Well, there's a couple of questions. So the very quick one, are there any templates for the campaigns?
We don't have templates for the campaigns. We've got lots of ideas on our blog posts. So if you look at if you go to our blog pages, we've got some articles there which go through some of the psychology behind messaging and writing connection messages. I think the title of one of the blogs is Writing Connection Request Messages That Don't Suck, which is a good starting point, of course. But when you're building your campaigns, try and think about how you would react to receiving such a message. We don't have templates because we don't know what industry you're in. We don't know what you're doing. We can't sort of sit in your shoes and come up with those sorts of things. What I tend to see though is what I understand that works from a lot of people that I deal with is connection request message showing some sort of empathy, some sort of an understanding and empathy to some sort of a connection with people, relating to how you found their profile or a common interest, something like that. And then the first few follow-up messages being very neutral, not going in too salesy, because that turns people off. You need to build a relationship with people before you go in to try and sell something. And don't be afraid to have a good amount of time, several days, maybe even weeks between your messaging. There's nothing worse than being bombarded with follow-up messages on LinkedIn. It just looks a little bit unprofessional and frankly blatantly automated. Make sure you've got a good amount of time between your messages. Not everybody is logging on to LinkedIn every day. A lot of us work on LinkedIn every day, so we are, but if you receive a message on a Monday and on a Wednesday and on a Friday from the same person chasing you, then that's going to be an immediate sort of turn off, as it were. So I would very much, give people, 5 days or longer between messages. Give people time to digest and respond to your message. Ultimately, what you're trying to do is get them to look at your profile, visit your profile, and hopefully be stimulated by that to reach out to you. That's the ultimate goal, and then you can actually then have a genuine conversation with them. All of your messages to them should have some sort of an open question in them, because then you're trying to prompt a response. Once you get a response, you're engaging with them, and that gives you a better chance of being able to build a fruitful relationship with people. Anything further?
Thank you. Yeah, we have a couple of questions. So another question would be LinkedIn warnings and LinkedIn noticing that you're using tools. How does Dux-Soup address that?
Okay, so as I said earlier, let me find the correct tab. There we go. As I said earlier, with regards safety, Dux-Soup is designed to mimic human behavior. And if I just show you this particular page here, what we've seen is there's been a change in LinkedIn's position over the last 18 months or so. It used to be that you could send hundreds of invites a day, and yeah, it was kind of almost like a free-for-all. About 18 months ago, we saw them introduce a sort of a weekly limit to invitations. Let me try and find the blog. There we go. I'll find it while I'm typing. There we go, on there. We've got plenty of literature on our websites here, and we update this all the time based upon information that we glean. So LinkedIn introduced some sort of a weekly limit around 18 months ago, and nobody knows what their weekly limit of invitations is. But we at Dux-Soup have been able to build up information. It's somewhere between 150 and maybe 400 or 500 a week, depending on whether you've got a free account, whether you've got a paid account, whether you've got a lot of first-degree connections, whether you've had any slaps on the wrist before, those sorts of things. There's a lot of information here in this particular blog post, and these here are the factors that will influence whether or not you get lots of credits, as it were. How many people are accepting your requests. Dux-Soup is the developer of Dux-Soup has the mindset that, if we do everything live in the browser, it looks like a human being. We're not doing anything untoward in the background, so therefore it's transparent. And yeah, the idea is to run the robot at a human and realistic speed to make it look like a human being. We monitor, so Dux-Soup will monitor for the pop-up that says you're out of invitations for now, and will pause for your required amount of time. That's under your throttling tab in your Dux-Soup options. Let me just see if I can find that while I'm talking here. This one here, yes. If I go to my Dux-Soup options here and I go to my throttling tab, you see here the LinkedIn robot will snooze for 2 days if that pop-up appears, and that way, Dux-Soup doesn't continue to carry out activity when you've had a little pop-up from LinkedIn. We're seeing fewer and fewer people actually get warnings for using automation. If you follow our recommendations, then you should have no problems at all. But yeah, just be sensible, and if you're starting out with automation, start slowly. Follow the recommendations we put on our website. Don't put 380 connection requests a day. That was something I was demonstrating to somebody the other day. We always recommend, if you're starting out, start out with a low number of connection requests per day and then build up over time.
Thank you. What would you recommend if it's a completely fresh LinkedIn account, 0 connections at all?
If you've got 0 connections, it's very difficult to connect to anybody. You need connections you need first-degree connections to have second-degree connections. So when you start out, the first thing you need to do is build up a number of connections as quickly as possible manually, because when you carry out a search, you only ever see people who you are related to. So I would recommend join groups. I would recommend connect with colleagues, family, friends, because as soon as you have some first-degree connections, that massively increases the number of second and third-degree connections. It's a hierarchical setup with regards with the connection levels in LinkedIn. I was speaking to somebody who's quite a while ago now who had a brand new brand new LinkedIn account, and they said, well, I can't send any connection requests, and that's because everyone was too far removed from them. They had literally no connections, so couldn't send any connection requests. So you will need to do some manual connections when you first start out, and then you'll need to build up slowly. And I would recommend starting, as I say, something realistic like 25 connection requests a day, and then build up from there. Every time someone connects with you, that's going to open up more possibilities for growing your network. You run it at 25 a day for the first couple of weeks. If you get a reasonable response rate there, then you've immediately got a reasonable number of first degree connections, and then you grow from there. You just go to, okay, no issues with 25 a week. In that case, I'm going to move to 30 a week for the next week or so, and then build up from there over time. But yeah, it's one of those things you need to give it time, especially if you've got 0 connections. It can be a little bit painful, and very often actually that initial start period, if you're trying to build up a base network when you're starting up, think about doing it manually to start with, because you can probably be a bit quicker at that stage until you get to sort of more like 50 or 75 connections, because then you've opened up possibilities to get longer search results.
Thank you. Last question. Does Dux-Soup run on company profiles?
No, it only runs against personal profiles. You can run it against, you can run Dux-Soup against a list of page likes. Yes, if you're an administrator for a company page and you've got page likes or followers, I think it is, Dux-Soup will run against that, but you have to run it. You can never log in as a company on LinkedIn. So you're only ever logging on as an individual, and therefore the actions are always performed as the individual that you've logged in as. So you can't log in as a corporation, for example. There's always administrators assigned to managing a company account. So you can only do stuff on behalf of an individual on LinkedIn.
Thank you very much. That's it from us.
Cool. I will very quickly just go back to this one. 2 weeks time, getting those first degree connections to become customers. We've done the questions. Booster and technical calls always available via the website, so you can always book those as required. I will once again apologize for the technical issues. It's the first time that's happened in 3 years of doing these webinars, so there we go. You were honored to witness that, perhaps, maybe not. All right, I'll say, on that note, I'll say thank you and goodbye, and speak to you in 2 weeks.
Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today, and see you next time.